Hello, everyone. The boy on the line, Steve Trimble here. Sorry, it's been a minute since I uploaded my last real video. I made that short a couple weeks ago to try and stem the tide a little bit. I went on vacation to my grandparents' house and such. And the last video I was going to make was the last tournament I went undefeated on. But that when I was in the middle of making that video, the little Death Guard mini data slate came out. So I felt kind of it would have been frivolous to make that because my list is obviously not as it is now with points changes. If anyone actually wants to see that, I could whip it up in a day or so. Make a comment if you want to see it. Otherwise, I'll just continue on with future projects. This is on to what this video is about, though, is I am making a video about the two new Space Marine detachments that came out because I unabashedly love both of these detachments, and I'm very, very excited for both of them. So let's get into it. First, we're going to start with the Shadow Mark Talon for the Raven Guard. We'll quickly go into all the rules because this isn't like a review channel, so I would assume you potentially know them by now. But quickly, this is an updated Vanguard Spearhead detachment with some slight changes. So it's got the same old detachment rule of you gain cover, and if you're outside 12 and -1 to hit. And the other specific rule is for your new chapter master, Atheon Sean. If he's on the battlefield, you can use one of the strats for 0 CP, which is very nice. And what's one of the actual coolest things about the attachment is every enhancement is amazing. And we'll get into my list, but I'm actually using one of the enhancements that might not be like what's considered the meta. First, we got the Black Wing Shroud, which gives a unit infiltrate. Amazing. Then you have a Phobos enhancement, the Coronal Susurrant. I don't know. It's a weird word. It gives a Phobos unit Lord of Zeet, the Vector. Then you have the Umbral Raptor. It gives a model Stealth and Lone Op. Sorry. And then finally, Hunter's Instinct. This is the most amazing one. It's super good. It lets any unit that's being led come into the battlefield 1 turn earlier, but it doesn't have the restriction of in your movement phase, so you can use it to rapid ingress. I quickly go over all the strats. They're all 1 CP, thankfully. First one is the normal armor contempt. Second one, lay low the tyrants. 1 CP, gain precision and melee. These strats are pretty much worthless, but that's fine. You have pretty much 5 good strats. You have 1 CP feint and thrust. Fallback shoot and charge. It's great. And if you were Phobos or a scout unit, which thankfully Kyvan Shrike is Phobos, so it gives us whole unit the Phobos keyword. They can also advance shoot and charge. So fallback shoot, advance and charge. Amazing for Kyvan Shrike unit and the random amount of Phobos you have, or just alone fallback shoot and charge for your units that normally don't have it, like Centurions. Then stunning fuselage. This is a renamed version of the old Raven Guard Vanguard Spirit strat, but it's if you're outside 12, give a unit +1 BS and +1 AP, and then you might battle shock someone if you do damage in the shooting phase. It's an amazing strat. It alone means Centurions. The +1 AP is amazing, but the +1 BS is secretly one of the better parts because it lets them always hit on 2s rolling 1s because their ability is reroll 1s to hit, and if they're shooting something on an objective, it's reroll all hits, so it makes them very solo. And then obviously AP4 las cannons and AP30 missiles just makes their efficiency spike up. But anything that lets you be efficient without oaths is a super premium in the Space Marines land. And the 1 CP Ace is a really normal reactive move. It's an infantry mounted unit, make a D6 move, or a flat 6 their Phobos or Scout. It sadly replaced pretty much one of the best strats of the old Vanguard Spearhead. It was a very toxic strat, but as when you were charged, you do this. It was very OP, but this is still a good ability. And then last one is Into Darkness. This is the one you can make free with Atheon Sean. It's a normal end of fight phase go in reserve, and you can do it with 2 units of their Phobos or Scouts. It's great. It's a great strat. And here's the list. So what the thing I was hinting at earlier is I took Umbral Raptor, which is the Lone Op Stealth on a Captain of Phobos armor. This is to scale up, which I think is very this detachment does very well, which is like Lone Op spam. So this I'll go over my list, but the quickie is it has 4 lone op units. You have the captain, you have Kyvan Strike unit, you have Athean Sean's unit, and Lieutenant with combi weapon. So it's 4 different lone ops in the normal 12-inch lone ops, not 18 inches. Which is very, very important in this meta because both versions of knights struggle into mass lone ops. They don't really have ways to interacting with them. So the ability to take more is very nice. And then the also nice part about the Captain Phobos armor is he's Phobos. So he auto 6s with that strat, which he can do for free since he's a captain. So now you, with the lieutenant in combi armor, or the combi weapon lieutenant, you have 2 lone ops that auto react 6 inches. That's very, very good. So the list, though, is the Captain Phobos armor. Like I said, he's a Captain Phobos armor. He has Infiltrate. I think he has Scout too. But he has Infiltrate, and he lets you redeploy 3 units, which is why he's actually here. Then a normal Captain Jump Pack with the Hunter's Instinct Turn 1 Reserve, which is going to be reactive Rapid Ingress. He's going to be hanging out with 10 Storm Infernal Pistol Vanguard Vets. We'll get to them later. A Judiacier with the Infiltrator. It's with the 6 Blade Guard Veterans. And then we have Kyvan Strike with his 10 Vanguard Veterans. They have Storm Shields, though. The new Athean Sean. You don't know what he does. He's very similar to Kyvan Strike. He has a very similar profile of 7 attacks at 5/2/2 twin linked. He has sus 2 instead of precision, I think, on his weapon. And then he's got 2 kind of weird abilities. One of which is he can rapid or heroic intervene for free. Him being able to rapid is kind of awkward because he needs to be on the board to be able to use the free strat. So you don't really be using that too often. But free heroic is always okay on a 50mm base. He moves 14 inches. He's 85 points. He's just very efficient, even though he's kind of lame for chapter numbers. Oh, and the second ability is kind of really weird and kind of bad. But it's at the beginning of the command phase, you have to pick an enemy unit, anyone on the board, and everyone gets reroll charges against that enemy. But if you're within 12, you have to charge. So you can screw yourself over by picking the wrong enemy. So if you don't want to be screwed, just pick someone in the back of the board that you can't charge. But that is something that you might just screw up and lose the game on the spot, because you might just fuck up and charge one of your tanks into the combat. So that's something you have to actually take, pay attention to, which is kind of awkward with your own model. And then the normal lieutenant with combi weapon that you should be playing all the time. 5 intercessors is sticky because Detachment doesn't have it as a strat, so they're very good. 2x5 assault intercessors with jump packs. They're just efficient Uber units in this detachment. And this army, because Strike makes them OC2. So they're OC2 guys who can jump on objectives and steal stuff. They're fast little dudes. They're not cheap. It's like Meishi with jump pack, intercessors with jump packs. But they're not like expensive. So they're just nice little OC2 guys. 6 Blade Guard veterans with the Infiltrate, as we talked about, and Fight First. This is very good because if you have a Fight First squad, it makes it very hard for melee units to interact with them. And they also have Infiltrate, so you can deploy them aggressively in front of your opponent's line, because we also brought the redeploy captain. That means you can deploy them aggressively, like in a line on your opponent's DZ. Your opponent's melee units have to be wary of that, and they have to deploy cautiously. And then now you can redeploy them into their correct position when we go before the first turn starts. It's very, very amazing. That's like one of the best things you can do with like Infiltrate and Fight First. Another type of unit you can run in this place is like Terminators. Terminators are very expensive, so I didn't really want to fit them in. And Blade Guard Veterans are very cheap. That's something you can do. And then the normal 6 Centurions with Devastators, blast cannons and missile launchers as you do. This is essentially the best unit you can run, period, in this detachment. No changes there. 6 Inceptors with Plasma. This is just very nice if you can efficiently spend. If you're not trying to poke both your Centurions and your Inceptors at the same time, they can be good users of the +1 PS and +1 AP strats. But otherwise, they're just nice. A lot of times they'll have cover or stealth from attachment ability. You can put them up and down with Eighth and Sean for free, or just the strat itself. Kyvan Strike also goes up and down for free, by the way. That's one of his second leader abilities, the other one being Lone Op. So you can bring up 3 units a turn, which is very good. So you're essentially playing, in my opinion, better Grey Knights at that point. But I don't really like other versions of Inceptors. Inceptors are very expensive. We're not in a meta where heavy bolters are good at all. So like bolter Inceptors, in my opinion, are pretty bad at the point. So just having one One Inceptor you can spend points on, do stuff with them, kill things. It's just good, but I don't really want to bring other ones. 5 Incursors. This is kind of like the flex random 80 points we have at the end. Incursors are nice because, like I said, they can interact with your Inceptors, help them not need oaths, but make them hit on 2s. They're a Phobos unit, so they interact with all those Phobos rules. They're only 80 points. They have somewhat of a melee weapon. They have like a 3-attack sustained chainsword. That's nice when you can, if you have the ability to go advance, shoot, advance, and charge, and just go do things. And they still have their Haywire Mine. So they're just like nice, efficiently 80-point guys. And then the 2 Vanguard veteran squads. The Infernal Pistols is definitely a kind of out there option. It's not like mandatory. You can take Storm Shields if you want. But that is very nice when you have Rapid Ingress on your opponent's turn. And that's essentially very hard to deal with. So they can go Rapid Ingress, find something, shoot it for like a bunch of damage, because most of them will be within Melter range, and the other ones won't. They're oathing, they got +1 to wound reroll hits, and then they charge them with their Strength 5 lethal hit chain swords. It's very nice. It's actually Strength 6 because the captain gives you +1 strength. So like what this detachment overall does, it lets you run a more hybrid marine list, but that favors melee, which is not a thing Codex Marines can really do at all. It's essentially, Codex Marines are like a 70 to 80% shooting to melee favored type of army, or they take all guns. This lets you do a lot of melee because you have amazing scoring with all your lone ups. You have most of your army is just jump packs. You move incredibly fast. You got decent damage, like I said, with the Blade Guard veterans, the Vanguard veterans, and such, because your oath gives you +1 to wound, so you're not really going to be whiffing with melee. And then you have amazing shooting with Inceptors and Centurion. So you essentially you're doing like all the things you need to do. Scoring, speed, melee, shooting, and it does like all of those things. And the attachment has like the perfect amount of tricks to damage ratio. Because an issue with like tricky detachments a lot of times they're printed with just too much tricks and not actual good rules. But this attachment has like the great, efficient number you need. It gives you a bunch of lone ops, it gives you a good amount of reactive moves, but it also gives you things like +1 BS, +1 AP. It gives you up and down, which in a lot of ways is actually a damage strat. It's both a damage and a trick strat because it lets you redeploy those Centurions and those Inceptors in the positions where they actually do damage. And then you have innate durability with your attachment bonus, and we're in a very heavy shooting meta, especially things like knights. So you're pretty much getting cover and -1 hit against all knight armies almost all the time. And then obviously you have like AOC. This attachment like does it all, and it's super awesome. I played a couple games with and against this attachment, and it really does work. So like this is my list. Obviously, you don't need to copy it direct 1-to-1. Like I said, you can take Terminators. I personally, like I said, I don't like Terminators. And we'll get in specifically a generic detachment doesn't buff them very much. We'll get to actual Terminators in 2 seconds. But I like Blade Guard veterans because they're cheap, throw away, and they're very annoying to deal with. And then like saying the Infernal Pistols, you can take Storm Shields if you want. And like the Captain and Phobos armor, I just personally like that as like a solo dude to get the redeploy, because I feel like the redeploy with a fight first infiltrating is amazing. And it lets you put more things into the reserves turn 1 if you want to. You can redeploy into reserves. But you don't have to take the lone op of him. You very easily could take the Vect on the Lieutenant. That's perfectly fine. This list is like, I think it's like 1990, 1985. So you have the points just to put it in anyways. But yeah, that's my Shadowmark Talon list. I'm in love with this detachment. I love this list. I think it's super good. You guys will have a lot of fun if you want to play something similar to this. But we're going to get on to the Emperor's Shield, though. Actually, pretty much one of my favorite attachments they've printed in like a year. This detachment is so good. It solves a lot of issues that Space Marine melee and Terminators have. And I just love this. I love this so much. So we're going to get to the attachment, and the rules are really quick. The attachment rule is you get rear 1 to wound against your ultimate target. That's like, it's not like, it doesn't scream like this is amazing, but it's actually just very efficient and nice. Because like the issue with like things like Vindicators and other models like that is if they don't have the real ones to wound, they can whiff so many times, and Space Marines cannot forward models to whiff. Your models, even with Oath, don't hit very hard, so you need them to connect with as much damage as possible. So this is very nice. And then, really, the best part about attachment bonus is Lysander's unit gets full rerolls to wound against an Oath moment target. He essentially becomes a Stirring Guard veteran, and it affects both shooting and melee. And we'll get to the shooting once we get to the list. This attachment has a lot of enhancements that are nice. They're slightly annoyingly restricted to the Terminators or banners, but that's fine. We made it work with its list. First one, Champions of Feast. Model gets +1 attack, and then once per game at the start of a phase, he gives his unit +1 attack. The start of the phase is actually what's really good, and we'll get to that once we get to the strats and such. Disciple of the Rhetoricus, the rear bird. Terminator model increases OC by 1, and start of a phase, OC 1 to the unit. This I did not take this enhancement in the list, but this enhancement's really good. It's like actually really good because the worst part, like one of the weakest parts about elite armies, besides that they can just die easily to anti-elite fire, which we're in an anti-elite meta, is that their OC is really bad. That's actually what helps Custodians not just be the worst army in the game a lot of times, is their army is innately OC 2 and 3. And Lysander, he still has his old ability until maybe the data sheet takes it away, but to be determined. He still gives both Terminator data sheets, Assault, and normal Terminators OC2. So this makes them OC3 baseline. If you take it with a banner, they become OC4. Not baseline, it's once per game, but you have OC3 baseline Terminators with a banner and up to OC4 with this enhancement. That's amazing. Pretty much tanks cap out at OC3 in this game. They're OC5 with like a big take on like a Land Raider, and like small things like Grand OC2. So a single Terminator beats almost everything. It's not like a Land Raider, which is great. Indomitable Champion, another Terminator model. Once he dies, on 2 up, he comes back to life. This is very good, but you're not just taking like 4 Terminators, is the issue. And I think you would take the 3 enhancements beforehand, but it is just a really good enhancement. Like this, it's just good. And the best enhancement here, the Malo-Draxon Standard. An ancient model only. Ancients kind of suck, but that's fine because +1 OC is still decent. Like I said, it shores up a weakness of Terminators. Ancient model only. They get essentially what's called the Transhuman ability. If something attacks them with higher strength, it's -1 to wound. Speaking about though, Lysander has that, but a slightly better version. His unit gets -1 to wound against equal or higher strength. So this enhancement works against strength 6 or higher. They get -1 to wound. His works against T5 or higher. It's really good. And then he also, if he didn't get updated much, so you don't really need to get into him. You can just look in the app. He's essentially the same data sheet. The only thing that got changed for him is he's now 7 wounds. And then that ability got updated from he can now use it when he's not leading. Like, whatever, I'm leading him. So he gets once per game, 2 up, invul save, and then the transhuman ability. And then he has a really good hammer. And then the strats. These are all 1 CP again. These strats are also amazing. They're all like above average to great strats compared to the field of the game. It's because they're restricted to specific data sheets. 1 CP Armor Contempt. It's normal Armor Contempt. 1 CP Fury of the First. This strat's actually like really good. A lot of people are like kind of down, which surprises me because it works in both phases, shooting and 5 phase. It's 1 CP gain +1 to hit, and if you're below sharding strength, +1 to wound. These type of strats are usually if you are below half. So +1 to hit is just a good strat baseline. It's just like a good thing. But +1 to wound if you lose a single Terminator, a single Terminator weapon, blah, 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 whatever those. All these strats pretty much get into it are essentially like for elites. They're for Terminators, Stirring Guard veterans, Blade Guard veterans, and Vanguard veterans. So just think of that in mind when talking about the strats, because essentially this list only has those anyways. Yeah, so +1 to hit, and a lot of times +1 to wound. That's amazing. Just very good. 1 CP for these specific models. Fight on Death on a 3 up. That's the best Fight on Death you can get in the game. Because Fight on Death come in 3 categories. Or that you have 1 CP Fight on Death on a 4 up. 1 CP Fight on Death on a 4 up, sometimes a 3 up with restrictions. Like, say, for instance, the Chaos-based Marine Index attachment is 1 CP Fight on a 4 up, 3 up if you're Khorne, and you're never a Khorne model. So that's the other type of in Fight on Death, or 2 CP Fight on Death, period. 1 CP final death 3-up doesn't really exist in the game, except maybe on like detachment rules. I'm talking about strats here. This is a premium, amazing strat. And we'll talk about the what this combines with in a second when we get to the list. And then 1 CP sticky objectives. As stated by some people, it's in the movement phase, which makes it kind of awkward because you don't own the enhancement till the end of the move phase. But it's still fine. It's still sticky objectives. It's really good, especially for like, you know, for an elite army. This is pretty much one of the best strats in the detachment. 1 CP, +1 AP, and ignores cover, period. This is a better, it's not a better version, but in the context of detachment and the models we're taking, a better version of Storm and Fire from the Glass detachment, which is 1 CP, I think, ignores cover, and if you're an Assault Doctrine or Devastator Doctrine, +1 AP, it might be flipped. But this one is just always ignore cover and +1 AP, so in a lot of instances it just says 1 CP, gain +2 AP. And then 1 CP, go back into reserve. This is great. It's only for Terminators only. If it could be any of the veteran units, that'd be premium, but it's still a great strat to have because you don't want 5-inch moving models to be in the middle of nowhere. Especially since if you go second and you use this at the end of your opponent's first turn, you can come in on your first turn, which is amazing. All right, into the list. All right, we got the Ancient of the Maldraxxan Standard. Like I said, he's got the Transhuman effect. He will be leading 10 Assault Terminators, a normal captain, which will also be hanging out with the lieutenant. They both have Power Fist and a Mastercrafted Bolter. And then I took the captain with Champions of the Feast. So let's go into that combo I was talking about with the Fight on Death, which is right here. So Champions of the Feast is start of the phase. You can get +1 attack. The captain ability is start of the phase. He gets +3 attacks to death wounds. So these combo insanely well with the Fight on Death on 30+. So we have them leading one squad of Blade Guard veterans. So someone charges you in, you pop all 3 of your abilities. You pop your Fight on Death, you pop your captain ability, and your captain +1 attack. So that means those Blade Guard veterans, which are gonna get fought, and they're gonna die. Up, they fight, they get all those buffs with +1 attack and such, potentially oaths. And the Blade Guard veteran ability itself, I didn't get into, is at the start of the phase, you pick reroll ones to hit or reroll ones to save. So it will have either of those buffs too. So it's going to have all those buffs while fighting death, because usually if you fight on death, you don't have any buffs. You can't use things like the CSM cannot pact. You can't use any strats. So these are fight on deaths where you get a lot of buffs while doing it. And then, so you'll lose, depends what the unit is fighting you. Hypothetically, let's say you lose 3 to 4 Blade Guard veterans from the opponent charging you. Both some fight on death, they do some damage back. Now you're also in the range to be able to use the +1 to wound. So this is a unit that's, in a lot of ways, unchargeable to a lot of enemies. All these strats combined very well together in very good combinations, like Champion Feet, as we're talking about, that are not really obvious on the first direct to read. Then we got like I talked about, Captain and Lieutenant hanging out together. I love Lieutenant because also this is he has 4 Power Fists, so he's got an above average amount of Power Fists. It's nice to have a bunch of Power Fist attacks. And then good bolters, I guess. It's free. But it's the only way to have like fallback, shoot, and charge in this attachment, which is like the weakest part of the attachment. Doesn't have advanced charge, fallback, shoot, charge. But I'm playing this attachment as like, the idea is it's like a wall holding list. It's not like an aggressive Blood Angels. You have your OC3 Assault Terminators right here that are standing on the midfield, -1 to wound and stuff. So it's like that type of list. Then we have a second Blade Guard veteran squad with Adjudicator. So now we have 2 very anti-melee type Blade Guard veteran squads, which is really good. We're going to get to Targaryen at the end. This is one of my favorite parts of the list. And then we have just an Impulsor to hang out with the Adjudicator squad. The weakness of the Captain Lieutenant is it's an 8-man, so it can't hang out on an Impulsor. It could maybe potentially hang out on the Repulsor, as we'll get to. We have a Repulsor to usually hang out with the Stern Guard veterans. But you could put the second Blade Guard veteran squad in there if you need to, if you need the speedy, aggressive melee to be up there quicker. I usually find Blade Guard veterans are mostly fine just running up the midfield. Like I play a squad in Blood Angels, for instance. We'll get into my Blood Angels in a new video, because I have a very spicy Blood Angels list for a very important coming event coming up. but you have the flexibility of Stern Guard or the Blade Guard veterans going in the repulsor, because Stern Guard can just reserve and straight out reserve and shoot someone. But Stern Guard are also very good in this list because they're veterans, so they get all the buffs, but they really love ignores cover +1 AP. AP2 ignores cover of their bolters with probably roll hits and wounds because they're probably shooting the oath. It's just very, very efficient. Or they can also use this strat if they're not shooting the oath. Hitting on 2s is a very good baseline. Sometimes hitting on +1 to wound 2. So they're a unit that can function without oaths, even though they're innately the I need to shoot the oath unit, because that's their ability of reroll wounds against oath. And then the 10, like we already got into the 10 assault terminators, the Thunderhammer boys. They will be hanging on the midfield, holding midfield objectives, being durable. 4 wounds, -1 to wound is very hard to kill. Having 4 wounds is good in this meta because the meta is a lot of 3 damage. So if you have 4 wounds with armor contempt, the transhuman effect, they're very hard to deal with. And about the ancient ability, the ancient has like that version of like the worst version of the +1 to hit, +1 to wound I was talking about. Is +1 to hit if you're under starting, +1 to wound if you're under half. But it's nice to have baseline because it combos with fight on death. So when you fight on death, you'll be under starting strength no matter what. So they'll always get +1 to hit. And if your unit gets wiped enough where you're fighting on death, where at least 6 of your models have died, then you'll get +1 to wound and fight on death too. Because you are under half while fighting on death, which is very good. It's nice to have because the banner just has it. You can't use this. You can't use like this strat when fighting on death. So it's nice the banner has it. So like I said, they're OC3 guys. Durable, annoying. They're good to stand on the midfield or even on certain deployments. They can stand on 2 midfield objectives. That's very good. And what's nice about the banner is you lose Lysander's +1 OC when you're battle shock, but you don't lose the banner OC. So you're always OC1 no matter what. In the Lysander's unit, so we skipped over Lysander, but here's Lysander's unit. This is a Bolter Terminator squad. Again, Power Fists. It can be Chain Fists if you're scared of like Knights specifically, because they have anti-3 up, so they don't need really any buffs. Because like you can oath still, they don't interact with +1 to wound from oaths, but they get +1 to hit against an oath target, so they at least won't be hitting on 4s anymore. But Terminator ability, like I said, they have the little free rapid ingress token, but their ability is +1 hit against oaths. So a Bolter Terminator squad that is using Disciplined Extermination, it gets +1 to hit, +1 to wound, +1 AP, ignore cover, reroll hits, reroll wounds. So a Terminator squad in rapid fire does more than 20 damage to a knight with bolters, which means it essentially one-shots any non-knight vehicle in the game that doesn't have like 2-up save armor contempt, which for a unit that is known for not being able to do literally any damage, that is huge for Space Marines. Because also these do even more damage in melee. In melee, this Terminator Lysander squad, I think, does about 38 damage to a knight chassis. It isn't like an Atropos, but even if it's an Atropos, it gets one shot because it's 39. That's almost 2 knights. Okay, it's not almost 2 knights. It's about 1.5 knights. That's an amazing thing to have because normally these can't really do much damage at all. So this is a very good unit, and this unit also interacts with the dropship extraction, because if you want to alpha your opponent, you can. If you go second, you can just jump up in the ground, send them, and shoot a no target to death. Potentially get a charge if you're lucky, but we'll just assume they don't. So these combined are very just great. This is pretty much like the only attachment that works with Terminators for Space Marines. In my opinion, this is essentially Wrath of the Rock, but actually functions. Wrath of the Rock has a lot of problems that I'm not really going to get into, but that this detachment doesn't have nearly as much. And then we'll get to back to the solo Torgarodon. Obviously, you don't need to run this. You don't really need to run the Captain and Lieutenant. I think this is amazing, but these are flex points. Like, these both can just be another Judicator. But this Judicator plus Blade Guard Veterans does decent damage. A Lieutenant Captain plus Blade Guard Veterans does really good damage. And then the Torgarodon, like I said, solo Torgarodon, he gets to hang out in the repulsor with either of the squads and still fits in the slots. He lets you use your Oath melee without needing to expose any of your normal units. Because once he fights a vehicle or monster or fortification, whatever that matters. He becomes 5 attacks at strength 14, -4, damage 4. Which means he hits on 2s, rerolling hits. He wounds on 2s, then you reroll 1s to wound because of the detachment ability, and he does 4 damage. Against knights that aren't atroposes, his damage just goes through. So he does automatically 20 damage to a knight chassis that's not an atropos, which is an amazing thing to do. Or essentially any non-2-up save vehicle. Most 2-up save vehicles will get a 6-up anyway, so they're probably going to fail all their saves. At best, make most of them. And if you make 1 save, you still take 16 damage and get 1 shot anyways. So he's an amazing just missile piece you can use just efficiently. And then he's a T6 dude. He's like 6 wounds T6 with a 4-up invul save. He's just annoying to deal with. So he's just, in my opinion, one of the coolest random things you can run. Obviously, it can be something else. If you're scared of Deep Strike that much, you can run some Infiltrators, maybe some Vanguard Vets. I don't like Vanguard Vets in this attachment, considering they don't really interact with anything here that matters. Like, you can make them speedy to go sticky, kind of, on the next turn, because they can't do it in the moon phase that they capture. Like I said, the strat's kind of annoying. But they don't, like, the Final Death 3+ is, like, not very interesting for them, because they don't get lethal when they're Final Death. They just essentially have Strength 5 chain swords. Like, the +1 to hit and maybe wound is, like, okay, but they're not really doing too much damage. So I don't have Vanguard Vets in this list for that reason. But it could be like a squad of Vanguard Vets. Maybe just normal Intercessors, just a normal sticky if you want. That's fine. Normal Intercessors are usually only sticking your backfield, which this strat will work on, because you can just deploy in your backfield and then you will own it in the moon phase. I don't think that's too important. But this is some flex points you can figure out. But I quite like this. But yeah, those are both of the detachments that like I said, I'm making this video because I really love both these detachments. Anything that makes like melee generic Marines that are like, you know, the non-codex ones like functional, I'm very on. So if you have any questions about any of these lists or anything about these attachments or like, I guess, Space Marines in general, let me know. And if you have any like, I don't know, like ideas or like what you would want me to make a video on or make a recording on, I'll be happy to do that. I'm getting an actual good, like, decent camera about this week or so I can put some face cam stuff in soon. And finally, like I said, if you actually want to hear about that GT I went undefeated on about a month ago, make a comment. I'll make it. I just didn't feel it made any sense because the death card got changed. Thanks for watching, and like I said, this was Deploy Line, Steve Trimble. Thank you.